share it on
Sleeper.
yeah. Oh. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Nothing But the Game. Tonight it is just CJ and I. CJ, what's up, dude?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm great. I'm hanging in there, dude. It's been quite a busy night so far. We ran into some technical difficulties. That's why we're coming on just a tad bit late tonight.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Talk about some NFL
So
news.
to start it off, as always, we want to talk about our campaign for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. The link is posted in the description below, and if you're just tuning in or if you've been watching for a while, you guys know how important that this is to us, especially being veterans and the lives of our fellow veterans that have been impacted, their families, etc. Like, bringing awareness to this is so important to us. So be sure to click on the link below. Your donations matter. Bringing awareness matters. So,
Definitely.
all right, man. So here we are, right? 2 weeks into
Yeah.
training camp, and it has been quite very interesting so far. I guess,
Yes.
just to get it out of the way, and just to live up to the name of our show here, like, I want to just jump on the Watson topic real quick without diving too much into details. I more or less wanted to relate it to
Just get it out there.
how it impacts the Browns and the AFC North, and maybe does this
Right.
change, does this imply maybe long-term long-term solutions for the Browns, like maybe that you just chalk this year, because I mean, not saying that, I mean, Jacoby Brissett has played in many games. He is a decent backup quarterback, and he will probably take on the reins. You have Nick Chubb and a reliable backfield, a strong offensive line, and a great defense, and you could probably, scrap your way through a few wins here in the beginning of the season. But I just want to,
Well, as of right now, I think they're going into training camp, and I believe they think the starter for we win is going to be Jacoby Brissett. Like, I think they just have to have that mindset right now until all this news of Deshaun. What's going to happen? Is it going to be longer? If not, so. I mean, they got a reliable defense, so I think Brissett can definitely win some games for them.
I absolutely, I'm not going to disagree with you. However, like, from a general manager standpoint, right, from a team building aspect, like,
Yeah,
what do the Browns really have besides Nick Chubb and a strong offensive line? I mean, like, Amari Cooper, sure. That trade, I still think Dallas wins that trade, honestly.
same. And I mean, they save a lot of cap money too.
Yeah.
So
And, now you got, uh, you know, uh, Donovan Peoples Jones, who I think is an underrated wide receiver, but I don't think he is I don't even think he's necessarily a number 2 receiver. I
I agree. I mean, I think he can produce, but I just think there's more. Like, I mean, they did draft the rookie David Bell from Purdue, but I mean, he's a rookie. Who knows what's going to happen? I just think they're going to have to rely on Chubb and Hunt.
Right. So, like, I mean, my question, to that is, do you just, do you chalk this season already and try to build through free agency in the draft, next year, and try to put a decent football team on the field? Like, you know, this is it's tough for me. I'm trying to give the Cleveland Browns the benefit of the doubt here.
Right.
You know, I just have questionable, some things I just question. You let Jarvis Landry go. The situation with Odell Beckham last year, like, granted, that might have been, between Baker and Odell, but like, we talk about it all the time. Like, the organization is is the foundation. Like, are you in it? If you're in a good organization, like, there's things to build on, and like, you know,
Right.
it just
The
looks like
environment.
they just have the footers in right now. Like, it doesn't feel like anything. And the footer being like they have a really outstanding offensive line, and they have some really, really good, talented folks on defense, right? But then, like, given the money that they did to, I don't want to say an unproven, David Njoku, but he's unproven. Like, he's physical. His build. I mean, he is an athletic tight end. Absolutely. I just feel like they kind of overpaid him, and then not only
Is he
that, but now they affect the entire tight end market with what they paid him.
is he the number one tight end out there?
Yes.
Well, if so, the first 6 game they got Carolina, which is the Baker game, and then they play against the Jets. They play against Pittsburgh, Atlanta, the Chargers, New England, and then that's when either Deshaun comes back or he faces a more,
Right, right. The NFL announced today that they're going to appeal the 6 game suspension, and they're looking for an indefinite suspension, i.e., like, meaning, they're looking for a 1 year suspension. I get it, and that could, honestly, I mean, that ruling could answer the question to what it is that I'm asking, is like, what are they really trying to do here? I want to go back to that game one, that week one, right? And like, week one is always something special to me, because some teams come out of the gate firing. Some teams take that. Some teams need that, like, 3 to 4 games to like get their feet under them and really get into football mode. On paper, you have one really good defense versus another really good defense, right? But in terms of weapons, like, I feel like Carolina has the
the upper
skill.
hand.
I feel like they have the skill position advantage. Nick Chubb is a phenomenal back,
Oh, no doubt.
but if the reports coming out of camp are that Christian McCaffrey is looking, even healthier than years prior, like, it's looking like he, whatever he did this offseason to get healthy, like, it looks like it's paying off. There has been, you know, Baker Mayfield has had some. I've seen some clips where it looks like he's making some good throws. It looks like he's still doing typical Baker things where he's, you know, throwing interceptions off his back foot. But
I mean, I think him and Darnold are splitting first team reps right now, but I think Baker beats him out.
I mean, I think Baker beats him out simply because they traded. Well, I
Yeah,
don't know. I mean, what they traded for Sam Darnold is still more valuable than what they traded for Baker Mayfield. So, and I think that's something that's going unnoticed, and
right.
untalked about, simply because Sam Darnold has had such, you know, ups and downs. He came out the gates firing last year, and then, he reverts back to typical Sam Darnold stuff. Um, but I still think that holds some weight and some value. Not to mention, like, they also drafted Matt Corral, who I've seen some videos of him out of training camp, and he looks good.
I
And
saw a couple
I've,
plays.
like, me, you, and Evan have all sat here and said that he is their best. He is their best option at quarterback.
I personally, I think they're just gonna ride this year out with Baker and Darnold, and then start next year. I think is Matt Corral's team.
Yeah, no, and I'm all for that. I support it 100%,
I think they
110%.
get the experience. Bring him in a couple games. Just to get his feet wet.
I mean,
So
what I don't want to see what I don't want to see the Panthers do is the merry-go-round of quarterbacks,
oh
right?
yeah,
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Baker start 3 games. Okay, we're going to transition to Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold starts 1 game. Fans are still calling for their head. Like, all right, let's throw Matt Corral into a really bad situation with an upset fan base. You know what I mean? So
I mean, if it's like that though, I would even start him this year at
no,
all.
no, no, not at all. I would give that kid a fresh slate, man.
Yeah.
Clean, and then you're looking at the other side of it all. You're looking at Matt Rule. His job might be on the line then, right? So now you have this rookie quarterback now going into year one, or going into his second season with a whole new coaching staff. You know, that creates its own hurdles. So there's a lot of variables here that the Carolina Panthers have put themselves in. And however, like I still think they have the skills, or I still think that they have better skilled position players than the Browns do, which was what we were originally talking about. And I still think I still think the Panthers come out on that week 1. And then you're moving into. So what was the rest of their schedule? I'm sorry.
Week 2 they got the Jets at home in Cleveland. Who I mean, the Jets are a sneaky team, man.
Jets are super sneaky. Reports out of Jets camp is that Joe Flacco is outperforming Zach Wilson. However, I don't see
No, I
I
don't.
don't see Zach Wilson losing that job. The only person I would see taking that job is if we get the historic, Mike White perform.
Yeah, right.
You remember, dude? I totally jumped on the Mike White train. I did, absolutely.
Like,
Uh,
we all did, man.
yeah, unless you get another like Mike White situation here where it's like, all right, but I think I don't know, man. I don't want to say that the black cloud looming over Cleveland is going to affect them the first 6 games of the season, but like you're looking at it, it's not like they have any favorable matchups. I really don't. Like, I mean, if you're sleeping on the Jets, I don't think you've been paying attention, or you're not giving them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, you have to at least give the Jets the benefit of the doubt that they're going to make a jump from, Zach Wilson year 1 to Zach Wilson year 2. You know, um, Brees
The only
Hall, Garrett Wilson, like they had a really good draft. They had a
they got
really
a lot of playmakers, like
yeah.
talented playmakers,
I mean,
versatile.
there's a clip going out. Elijah Moore, man,
Yes.
making some nasty one-handed catches, dude. Like, and then you roll into what? Then you roll into Pittsburgh.
No, they're home against Pittsburgh.
All right, so you're home against Pittsburgh. It's reports coming out of Pittsburgh camp is that it's Mitch Trubisky's job to lose. Deontay Johnson holding out for contract extensions, giving guys like Calvin Austin a chance to make plays on. And Calvin Austin coming out of Memphis, dude, speedster. Like, I mean, there's also this is another quarterback controversy. Mason Rudolph is apparently having a really good camp too, and I like Mason Rudolph coming out of Oklahoma State a few years ago.
And he's experienced with that team. Like he knows the ins and outs already. So
Right. Like but in all of this, I still think that those 3 teams are in better situations than the Browns. I still think they have better skilled position players than the Browns. Najee Harris is a little banged up right now for Pittsburgh. And they're talking about decreasing his reps, probably about 50, like, so instead of like 400 touches, like, yeah, you're going to have like 325, 350, like.
but they still like you said with Calvin Austin and I mean Dante Johnson, he'll be back by week 1. You still got Claypool And George Pickens, I mean, he's making a
Oh,
name for
dude, George
himself.
Pickens is having himself a camp. He is looking physical. He is looking fast. He is looking like the game is not too big for him, and I am so excited for him. I really
I
am.
I think he's gonna be the number one in the next couple of years. He will be the number one for them.
Absolutely. What Chase Claypool number 2 maybe, or Deontay Johnson number 2. I mean, I like Chase Claypool's playmaking abilities. Uh, and those guys are all coming out of kind of a rough situation too, man. Ben Roethlisberger at the end of his career was not a guy that was trying to do it all to win it all. You know what I mean? He looked, like shit, I got another game I got to go to, right? Like
Very sluggish.
when we were in the Navy, we had this term called the short timer syndrome, right? Short timers, right? You were about to rotate out of your command, you were about to get out of the Navy, whatever. You stopped. I mean, I specifically remember when I was getting off of active duty, calling. If you tuned in last week, we had our pal Joe Despo on, or Joe, sorry, Joe, and I he was my LPO, and I would just call him up and be like, not today, bud. And, and he was like, okay.
Medical appointment.
Yeah. I mean, granted, my wife was pregnant at the time, so like, I had a valid excuse, There, airing my dirty laundry out there, right? Yeah, man, that's what Roethlisberger looked like he had, was just some short time syndrome, and I don't think any of those guys really wanted to play with them. So, you know, a new, a fresh start at QB there. Like, that's why I'm really kind of hoping that Mitchell Trubisky
Yeah, me too.
can shine there. And then you got Atlanta, right?
I mean, and Mariota could be playing lights out by then. Who knows?
Yeah, people understand the relationship that Arthur Smith and Mariota have. Like, that's that's sneaky. I mean, in Mariota, the few times that he did come in after losing the starting job in Tennessee, he went over to Las Vegas. He was, he didn't look bad. He didn't look like the game was too fast for him. He didn't look scared. Like, so Drake London's having himself a really good camp. Drake London's looking great.
Kyle Pitts also.
Yes, Kyle Pitts. I saw some clip. I mean, Kyle Pitts is just, he's beating corners and safeties like they're nothing. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't want to. I know we have a few Browns fans out there that are listeners. I know that we're in a few dynasty leagues with some Brown fans, and I'm not trying to shit on them. I'm really not. All right, they're like brothers, of mine. We share Lake Erie together, Cleveland. Like, I've always kind of tell you a little story about the Browns. Like, my first ever fantasy football draft, I drafted Tim Couch with my first pick in the first round. Tim Couch. I was like 10. It was my first ever fantasy football draft. Tim Couch. And the only reason I did that is because I remember this Hail Mary against Pittsburgh in the wild card game. Like, and I was like, oh, Tim Couch is phenomenal. You know what I mean? So, like, I've always had a little spot in my heart for the Browns. But none of this just seems like a good situation at all for them. And if I'm your general manager, I'm looking at rebuilding, upgrading your skill positions, maintaining the defense, and I don't want to say fire Stefanski, but like, I would just clean slate it, dude. I really would. Give Deshaun Watson a clean slate in Cleveland, and
so their 5th and 6th game, they got the Chargers in New England, which is, that's going to be hard. Then they play at Baltimore. They're home against Cincinnati. They got the bye. They're at Miami, at Buffalo, home against Tampa Bay. Like, that's a rough slate right there.
Yeah, that's what, your first 10 games of the season. That's
Yeah.
really bad news, man. Like that sounds like a really tough schedule. I mean,
So
Baltimore is the sleeper in the North, dude. They really are. I mean, you're talking about a team that was winning games last year with 25% of their roster injured or out for the season. Like, if you don't think the Baltimore Ravens have a chance in the North, you don't watch football or you don't know what really went down last year.
it
Because Baltimore
was.
is scary. However, comma, you see that video trending about Kyle Hamilton getting smoked?
Oh, dude, he looks so stiff, man.
So, and like,
And
I,
it was, and I think it was against an undrafted free
yeah.
rookie, or I don't know, free agent, or either way, like. But Rashad Bateman, man,
Oh,
he's about to
dude.
be the top dog there. Like in the year, like this coming year, he's gonna. Lamar's looking good. Rashad Bateman. I mean, even James Prochet, the number 3 receiver, he's
Yeah.
having good. They have a tight end, a rookie tight end, Isaiah Likely, I believe his last name is, who's making catches here and there. So
Yeah.
I really like Baltimore.
I like that you bring up this Rashad Bateman conversation because I kind of want to transition and segue into some fantasy sleepers. There's been a lot of talk about a lot of receivers coming out of, uh, yeah, like coming out of training camp and how good some of these guys look. And like, I kind of want to look up their, average draft picks and like see where they're getting drafted at and see if like,
Yes.
is this too much, I mean, obviously like a late round value pick is a bonus, but I'm just, you know, realistically, where are they being drafted at, and where should they actually be getting drafted at is like what I want to do. So I'm just trying to pull up the fantasy football average draft. Uh, I'm gonna look up. I guess I'll go off of. I guess I'll go off of sleeper right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know how recent or current this is, but
So
here we go. This is what I want. All right. So I just want to jump into. Let's just right there at Rashad Bateman. So in a standard like redraft PPR, you're looking at 79. 79,
yeah,
and in like a 12-person league is what round? Sixth round.
yeah.
So do you think that's a good
So
spot? Do you think that's a good spot for him, or do you think he should be
I
higher?
do. No, I think it's a good spot for him.
Yeah, I
Um,
I'm excited about him though, dude. I loved him coming out of the draft last year out of Minnesota. I thought he was the most, how do I say it, most ready wide receiver coming out of the draft, and he ended up going in the second round. You know, and again, this kind of reverts to like, you almost wonder if like GMs think the same way that fantasy footballers do, right? Like here, I'm a guy that values T. Higgins over Jamar Chase for consistency versus boomer bust, and you almost wonder if that's how GMs are drafting too. Like, yeah, I boomer bust is great. Obviously bust outweighs the boom, or I'm sorry, boom outweighs the bust anytime. If you have if you have a wide receiver that can, pop off,
Right.
10 out of the 10 out of the 17 games a year, like, yeah, you're on the plus side there. But me, I like consistency, especially when it comes to PPR. Like, I like consistency. I like a guy that's going to go out there and get 5 catches for 80 yards every week, you know, versus the guy that's going to get 3 catches for 100 yards every week, and the one of those catches happens to be a 50-yard bomb. You know what I mean? A 50-yard bomb touchdown. So, like, you know, different fantasy footballers value these players, differently. Um, yeah, if I can get Rashad Bateman in this, in the 6th round, like, I'm gonna do it. And I guess it really just kind of depends on how the draft board is talking to you, and what's going on. Like,
Like, no, I agree 1%. I think he's going to have, you know, big numbers for Baltimore this coming year. But also, I was all about Josh Palmer last year, and I'm still all about him this year. Like he's improved even more. I was reading about it. He's having a great training camp. And then also another guy that me and you are both on right now is Romeo Dubs
oh,
in Green
dude.
Bay. Like that, he could eventually, like Christian Washington. I believe he's not practicing right now. You never know the status of Sammy Watkins. He's either hurt or not. And then you got Adam Lazard. So, I mean, Romeo Dubs has a great chance to,
So
show his skills by week one.
I saw a really good tweet, and I want to say, and I'm gonna credit the source here. Hold on. I should have screenshotted so I could have, but it was such a great analogy, dude, that I don't even know.
And like he's been drafted late. And there's some drafts he's not even drafted at all.
Well,
So
I mean, even, yeah, in our dynasty league, I went and picked him up, man. I don't know who I dropped a defensive player to go get him, but and then I actually dropped Sammy Watkins today too, simply because of Romeo Dobbs. Like,
I'd rather have the youth. And
right? Oh shucks, come on, man.
then while you're looking up, I got one more player that I
Yeah.
really like. Rashad White from Tampa Bay is clicking on all cylinders right now, and I believe he could be your starter by week 5 in Tampa Bay. I mean, his cashing pass cashing ability is off the charts right now, and like supposedly Leonard Fournette, is a little overweight coming in, but I like Rashad White from I think he went to Arizona State, so yeah, I really have high hopes on him.
Oh man, I can't find the tweet. Um. So I apologize. I can't find the tweet to really give the source the credit, but it was just a really great analogy, and you being somebody that was really high on Trey Sermon last year, I think can really appreciate this. You ready? Romeo Dobbs is to Elijah Mitchell as Christian Watson is to Trey Sermon,
Oh,
right?
it makes so much sense right there.
And I just like I should have quoted it, or I should have quoted the tweet or something, so that it was so. I mean, it was such a beautiful piece of writing, because from the sounds of camp right now, like, that's what it sounds like. So yeah, I'm really excited. And it's funny that you bring up Rashad White, because I also drafted him in our dynasty league. So, like, yeah, sucking for a few years in your dynasty league, right? I'm looking like I'm a genius now. It's almost like I was playing the long game, right? I talk about this quite often. You got to play the long game. You got to play the long game.
A
So,
marathon, right?
what's that?
It's a marathon.
It is. It is a marathon. So, granted, my wife doesn't like that I fork up $100 every year, but it is what it is, right? I'm gonna have some studs here in the next couple of years, dude. Um, I heard some other really good news. Alec Pierce out of the Colts camp is looking phenomenal, and you pair him with Michael Pittman Jr. and a reliable quarterback, and Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, and a really solid Colts defense. Like, yeah, don't be
And
surprised. Don't be surprised if they reclaim the AFC South this year.
this is probably the best offensive line Matt Ryan's ever played with in his career.
Yeah,
So if you give Matt Ryan, I know he's old, but if you give him even more time with his decision making, watch out.
yeah. Well, so speaking of Matt Ryan, like there's reports coming out of camp that he is pushing the tempo so much at camp. It's not like he's trying to get his feet wet. It's not like he's trying to like, hey, oh, hey teammate, how are you? It's not none of that. None of that is happening. He's pushing the tempo, and I mean they're calling practices early because he's pushing the tempo so much, and that's great to hear. That's what you want to hear out of your veteran quarterback. Like what you go out, you make a trade, you bring in this guy, and he's immediately just trying to insert his presence into the offense and into the team and into the culture, and that's what it's all about, man. I'm excited for Matt Ryan. We were excited I still, to this day, Evan, if you're listening, I hope I think we are the original. I want to say that we gave the Colts the idea, the trade for Matt Ryan, because we were talking about that weeks before it even happened. So, yep, just want to bring that up. Don't
No, I
mind me.
agree. Man.
Don't mind me. I'm opening my other beer.
I mean, you have Tennessee, but they're going to rely on the running game again. The Jags, I mean, they're up and coming, but they still got some work to do.
I saw one of these. I saw one of these. Speaking of the Titans, though, right? I got to tell you, kid out of California, Kyle Phillips, dude. Like, you watch this kid run his routes.
So smooth.
Full speed. He is reliable, and like, I'm really, really excited about this kid. I mean, I don't think I've really I can't even compare him to anyone prior because we haven't really seen him on the field. But like watching him in this film, like watching these videos come out of camp, man, he looks so smooth. He looks so confident. I mean, he is burning dudes. His route running is phenomenal. And that's what it is, man. I mean, it's Cooper Kupp's success is his route running. Cole Beasley was successful because of his route running. Wes Welker, Julian Edelman. It's.
He was taking the 5th round too.
Yeah, he's taking 5th round. I mean, again, he's getting drafted. He's getting drafted at like as late, if at all, right? Like
right. Well, I mean, they have Robert Woods. He's gonna be that veteran there, and then you got Treylon Burks.
Burks.
And then Cal Phillips could be that sneaky number 3 right there.
Yeah, I mean, that's it right there, right? Yeah, man. Do you think Derrick Henry's getting drafted too high?
No, just because. What do you mean by too high? What pick will you consider too high? Top 5?
Yeah, like top 5, like running back.
Yeah, top 5. I do think is a little high for me. I mean, personally, I would take
I'm like we're kind of coasted into like spitball mode here for the show, so I'm just gonna ramble it off. Give me your top 5 fantasy running backs.
Jonathan Taylor, CMC, and honestly, I like Dalvin Cook better than Henry right now. And then probably. So who's that? Jonathan Taylor, CMC, Dalvin. Well, I guess Henry would be my top 5. I'll give him number 4, and then Nick Chubb.
And then Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
So I like Jonathan Taylor. I like DeAndre Swift really high, honestly.
Actually, yeah, I take that back. I would take Austin Eckler, and then I would take Henry.
Okay.
Austin Eckler has really shined last couple years.
Yeah, but so camps coming or talks coming out of Chargers camp is that Isaiah Spiller's in the backfield and he's looking really good, dude. He's been practicing with the ones. Like, this is gonna probably, if these reports are true, which I mean, I'm sure they're half true. You know what I mean? And his role in the offense might be, might evolve a little bit faster than anyone's really anticipating. This is going to steer away from, Austin Eckler's value as a running back. You know what I mean? So then, as a fantasy football follower, I'm all tongue twisted tonight. As a guy that plays fantasy football, if I'm reading reports saying that Isaiah Spiller's practicing with the ones, automatically Austin Eckler's value drops for me, right?
No, I agree.
Uh, DeAndre Swift is he's the one in Detroit. You see what Detroit's trying to do.
Yeah, you see they signed Justin Jackson too, right?
Yeah. Oh, I know.
I'm not saying that he's going to take his production from being a number 1, but
No, but I think
it's insurance.
It's insurance, and it also, Jamal Williams, right? Like now, like another guy. I went and picked up Joshua Jackson in our dynasty league too. Uh, you see what they're trying to do. They have a ton of speed. Amon-Ra Brown, Jameson Williams when he's healthy. DJ Shark is physical wide receiver. Then you have Josh Reynolds, reliable hands. TJ Hawkinson, who can line up in the slot, outside, inside, wherever the hell you want TJ Hawkinson to line up. You have DeAndre Swift.
Imagine if they had a franchise, like, I'm not knocking on Jared Goff, but just say if they had just say if Matthew Stafford's still there. What do you think?
I don't know, man. Like,
Was it just his time for a new environment?
in Matthew Stafford's time there, the only time that they ever had a valuable weapon for him,
Megatron, right?
yeah, Megatron, Calvin Johnson, right?
Exactly.
They never had a great running back. They never had a good offensive line. They never had the defense that they're developing right now, right? They never had a defense.
No.
They had a few defensive backs that were, good, but there was never a foundation on defense.
I'm saying, like, the team they're putting together now,
Yeah.
do you think he could thrive with them and win?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But they're also building this team with the assets that they required from their trade from him.
Exactly. That makes a big.
You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah, it's like. No, I agree.
I mean, what they bring in TJ Hawkinson, they play 1 year together, and then he gets traded. You know what I mean? So it's like, or maybe Hawkinson has 2 years with him. Regardless, I'm just trying to think of like other receivers that they had, and Marvin Jones Jr. when he was younger. Kenny Golladay. They had Kenny Golladay. They traded Kenny Golladay. Like,
so, hopefully he has a better season.
I was just gonna bring the Giants, dude. There's some good things happening over there, man. I've seen some clips. I mean, this doesn't tell the whole story, but Kadarius Toney is just absolutely lighting up camp. He really is. I've seen some, hitting Wan'Dale Robinson. Like, they have
the playmakers.
They have playmakers. They have a lot of playmakers of the same stature, Like I feel like Kadarius Toney and Wandale Robinson are very similar in the way they play the game. Kenny Galladay offsets that. You know what I mean? He's a bigger physical wide receiver. Um, I haven't seen much or heard much about Saquon. I've seen a couple. I saw Saquon catch a pass in the back of the end zone. So it tells me that they're getting the running backs involved with the passing game.
He's looking healthy, so he's looking pretty good.
Right, it's really good. It's good. I'm excited for them. I'm excited for Daniel Jones to take this step. I think Brian Dable will do that. He seems to be the kind of guy that can help quarterbacks transition. I know he loves building his relationships with his players. So I'm excited for the Giants. I'm excited for the Giants just because I want somebody to compete with Dallas there in the NFC East.
Speaking of, they signed Anthony Barr today.
I saw that to a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I was pretty happy about that.
I actually contemplated going to pick up their defense.
Really?
Yeah.
I was pretty happy. To give us that middle linebacker help. He definitely can defend, and it's only a 1-year contract. So James Washington. He fractured his foot. He's out, I believe, 6 to 10 weeks. And they were talking about a lot of the fans were saying like, "Hey, let's sign a veteran receiver, as in like Emmanuel Sanders,
Yeah,
or a Will Fuller type player." But they're saying that they're going to keep the people they have, and T.J. Vasher, which is a kid from Texas Tech. He's looking pretty good, but they're talking about using Pollard and Schultz and all them more in the passing game. So they really don't want to sign. They're just going to use Tony Pollard more in that offense to take James Washington.
Yeah, I also saw something about Jerry Jones talking about how this is the year that it's pretty much make it or break it for Zeke.
Ooh, but Zeke's looking good, man. I ain't gonna lie.
Excuse me, I just burped into the mic there. My bad.
He's probably the most healthiest or fit that he's looked in his career. He's been there. What it leads to, I don't know yet, but we'll see.
What it leads to is Tony Pollard leaving and going to another team next year.
It would be sad if that happens.
I need Tony Pollard to step up and be a number 1 running back.
He can be that in Dallas, though. That's the thing.
I know. I need him to be a back somewhere because in our best ball Devi draft, he was the first running back that I took in like the 7th round. So,
but he has the capabilities of being a number 1 back.
Yeah, no, I know. But the NFL life expectancy of a running back is like their first 5 years, and Tony Pollard's going on his 4th year. You know what I mean? So it's like, but he's remained healthy though. Versus,
right. I don't think he's been hurt at all either. So that's a good
thing. Speaking of our best ball Debbie draft, so Evan is our for those of you tuning in or first time listeners, Evan is our 3rd co-host, and he is kind of the he has wrapped us into this life of Devi drafting, fantasy Devi, and I have to tell you, I love it.
Yeah, same here.
Nothing But the Game hosted its first ever Devi draft, slow draft. It was about
a week and a
half long draft, and
it was amazing though.
I'm really excited to talk about it, and we are going to probably start breaking that down next week upon Evan's return. So we didn't want to dive too much into that without him. So, but I'll tell you what, Devi, if you have not jumped into this world of Devi fantasy football, this was my first ever Devi draft. I loved it. I was excited about it. I was doing research. I was finding kids, in college that I didn't even know were, like I'm still really excited with my 5th round pick of Zach Kuntz here out of Old Dominion University, dude. The kid's 6'7". He's six
Is he?
seven. He's 6'7". He was a Penn State transfer to Old Dominion University. Like, he's probably going to be like the top tight end prospect coming out of this year's draft. And where he lands, like I think that's like the biggest thing about this Devy stuff.
You don't know where they're going.
You don't know where they're going, dude. Like, you know what I mean? I could go real
Yeah.
big on this guy, but if he ends up in a bad situation, you're like, son of a bitch, man. Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I
I'm
mean,
excited.
I'm really, really excited about it, dude. So we are going to dive much more into that.
Yeah, the whole show's gonna be dedicated for that next
And
week.
so if anybody from that league, if you're tuning in, if you're listening, so stand by next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be breaking down the Nothing But the Game Best Ball Devy Draft. And it's going to be exciting. So we started a little late tonight, but we're still going to try to end on time early here. So, for those of you who tuned in, we really appreciate it. Make sure you follow us over there on Twitter at NBTG_podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are live every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Next week we will have Evan back, and we will be talking Devy football. And we have the Hall of Fame game is on Thursday, so we're going to be able to talk about that next week.
Oh, nice.
So football is officially back, man.
Who's in that game? Do you know?
It is Las Vegas versus Jacksonville.
Okay, not too bad.
So I don't think we're gonna get to see much, but
Well, hopefully Etienne gets to play because I want to see what he can do.
they're not gonna play. They're not gonna play ETN in that.
You don't think so?
No.
Like a couple plays just to see how his knee.
No, they're not gonna risk that in a preseason Hall of Fame game. You could never be an NFL GM, dude. Never.
I'm thinking as a fan, not a GM.
All right, Trevor, we're gonna start you in this grudge match here. This out of Canton, Ohio. All right, this game in Canton, Ohio. Yeah. But all right, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. And we will catch you next week, 8 p.m. Eastern time.